These are the top 7 weirdest Rubik's Cubes I own, starting from the least weird, getting weirder as the video goes on. So at number 7 we have the Pandora Cube. I actually have 2 of these cubes, so the other one I modded and you'll see that a bit later on. So if you managed to figure out how this one turns, well, this actually looks really similar to this cube, but unfortunately it's just a 3x3 shape mod. At number 6, we have the Dino Cube. This is a really fun puzzle and it's quite easy to solve if you have some basic cubing skills. This is a great cube for non-cubers or beginners because it requires you to do piece inserts, which is quite difficult to grasp being able to do efficiently. But it's simple enough that a non-cuber would probably be able to figure the cube out and get some basic cubing knowledge in about 30 minutes to an hour of trying to solve it. So this is a pretty cool cube. At the number 5 spot, we have the gear ball. This cube, wait, why am I calling this a cube? Anyways, this requires only a few very simple algorithms, but I can't say it's easy because I've learned to solve the cube about 4 times. And that basically means that I've forgotten how to do it 3 times. But anyways, it's quite an easy cube to learn and it's quite satisfying how the gears move around. At number 4, we have the Centrosphere Cube. This looks really crazy because it seems that there's a 3x3 ball inside of the 2x2. However, this one again is just a 3x3 shape mod, but it's quite cool and it explains quite well how a real 2x2 works because it's the same but the edges are visible under the corners unlike the 2x2. Solving this cube is quite strange of a process because you have to grip it really strangely. And the worst part of all is doing M moves, because you could see how hard doing a regular H perm becomes when you're doing it on this cube, because like the corners are sort of getting in the way, so yeah. But anyways, that's a pretty cool puzzle. If you made it this far into the video, then if you've enjoyed so far, please consider subscribing because this is my 3rd video on this channel ever. Now we get into the strangest Rubik's Cubes in my collection. Starting with number 3, which is the Master Morphix. This is by far the hardest cube on this list, and you can see that when I explain what this is. So this might look scrambled, but that's far from the truth because this is actually the checkerboard pattern, which is crazy if you ask me. But this isn't even close to what the cube can do because this cube can shapeshift. And if you haven't noticed already, this is another 3x3 shape mod where you can solve it exactly the same way as a normal 3x3, but instead of having 6 sides, it has 4 sides. This cube can also be really hard because of parity, and that's because, as you can see here, there's a few pieces that look exactly the same, so you can get a few pieces that look like they're in the right place, but actually they aren't. So at number 2 is the other Pandora Cube, which I removed the corners to create the opposite of a 2x2. You might know that a 2x2 is actually the same as a 3x3, but with just the corners. But this is a 3x3 with just the edges. So I managed to pull off the corners like this, and there you go. This should supposedly be easier to solve than a regular 3x3, but it's so strange that I just can't get used to it, and usually solve it slower than my 3x3 average. As you can see, the F12 step is literally just inserting the edges, which is really easy. Then for OLL, you just do the first step in 2-look, which is to make the cross, and that's it. You have no corners to align. And then for PLL, you only need to permutate the edges. This is surprisingly quite an interesting cube that I somehow managed to create, so I'm quite happy with how this cube turned out. And lastly, at my number 1 spot and my weirdest Rubik's Cube ever is the Chameleon Cube. This is a really strange cube because the colors change depending on the angle that you look at it from. You shouldn't mistake this for the Impossible Cube though, because this one has only one solution, which is solved from all perspectives, which is unlike the impossible cube, which has two solved states in which both only solved from one perspective. This one is solved by considering each side to be both colors that it shows. So for example, this side is the yellow and red side, so when I look for cross pieces, I'll look for pieces that are both yellow and red. By following this rule, solving the cube is quite simple, but it looks really impressive if you don't know how to solve it. It's really interesting how it works, so I really do like this cube. And those are my top 7 weirdest cubes in my collection. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed, and click here if you want to see how I try to solve a fully functional Minecraft Rubik's Cube. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.